Me, a bro.
Yep.
He, a dude.
That's good stuff. All right. Let's try it. Okay. Welcome to the We Will Journey podcast. We're talking about faith and life as it happens, and not the glossy exterior we wish it was.
Ah,
What, man? What did I do
no,
wrong?
I think you said it's because all the things I was thinking about before. But we can edit that. You got that part good.
Oh.
You got it good. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, just
Now it's your turn.
good.
Yeah.
Wait. We're gonna get under the surface. I should have said all those things before. We should have waited. Down and dirty until after we read this part.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. We get under the surface and explore the down and dirty. Okay. Maybe we should. It doesn't have to be word for word, right?
No. I mean, I gave an interpretation.
Okay. All right. We get under the surface and explore the down and dirty of life as it pertains to our beliefs, our relationships, politics, and absolutely everything else.
Oh, there we go. That was good. All right.
Three, two, one.
Well, hello, Seth.
Hello, Tyler. Do you hear me this morning? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes. That question catches me a little bit off guard because I've been hearing you just fine as we've been talking.
Sometimes the
So
connection.
it
I don't
almost
know how to.
it almost makes it seem as though we'd been having technical difficulties, which we had
Hello.
not been having those.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking,
Can
that
you hear-
sometimes.
Can you hear me in Austria?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're in Western Nebraska, which is however many. Is it millions or thousands or hundreds of miles away? And so, who knows what the connection's like? Isn't it? Because it's a cable. It's a cable, right? That connects us somewhere underground.
A cable. Yeah. It's like that, like the two foam cups with the string tied between it. That you used to do when you were kids. The same technology makes this possible today. Pretty cool, huh?
It's amazing how far we've come. I feel like one small step for children is one giant step for mankind.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, the small step that children made led to this point is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
They came up with. Who was it? Was it Einstein or Newton or somebody that came up with the cup phone?
Wasn't it? It was Bell, right?
Well, he
Alexander
came
Graham
up with
Bell.
the real phone, right?
Well,
maybe they came.
I don't know.
Maybe the cup phone came before that.
I don't know what came first. I guess I apologize. I'm not up to date on my phone history. So I'll have to do some research. I'll get right on it as soon as we get off this.
I'm pretty sure Jerry Seinfeld has a 20-minute session or a 20-minute session about phones and the history of phones. That's what that's what I mean, a lot of comics, but especially he just like takes whatever random thing and just it goes a deep dive and can kind of make the most simple things hilarious.
So, speaking of history, since you kind of opened the door a little bit here for some historical type discussion, last night as I was perusing YouTube videos...
Perusing, is that French?
No, I don't think so. Touche. We shouldn't use inside jokes on our podcast. We were debating the meaning of touche yesterday when we were texting back and forth. And anyway, so
to touch.
I looked it up, and the meaning that I found, let's see here, was a little different. It talked about agreement, like I agree. So it didn't really talk about to touch or touching.
Well, it said, when I looked up the actual meaning in French, it said it's like a term used maybe even in sports was one part of it, like touching.
The origin, that's the origin, literally touched. Past participle of toucher, but it says it's used as an acknowledgement during a discussion of a good or clever point made at one's expense by another person.
Touche.
So you can't keep saying it.
Isn't
so it's like sarcasm. So like if I made a joke about you,
but you never would.
But it was good. I would never do that. But if I made a joke about you and it was like good and clever, you're like touche. Like good one.
Touche.
So I think that's like oh, good one, Seth. I don't know. But
yes, I do have a lot of clever, witty jokes. I receive a lot of touches.
Wonderful.
Is that the history you're talking about?
No. The video that I found was a reunion video for the cast of Friends. So, Friends was I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Friends was a sitcom in the 1990s.
It was in the 90s
until
and
2000.
Was it maybe even the early 2000s?
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
I don't remember. Yeah.
All you have to do is look at the hairstyles, and you'll see what period it was. You remember Rachel's hairstyle? She set the trend.
They had like a reunion video. It's not like a show, but it's where they all get together and reminisce about the show. And
did you get emotional?
Joey? No, I did not. But Joey, he's become a bigger dude. He kind of looks like me now, so that made me feel good. That made me feel pretty good. I think he has a show, Muscular? Last Man Standing, or something like that. I just don't watch it, so I haven't seen
Tim
him.
Allen. Never actually seen it, but I do know that.
Oh, it's Tim Allen?
Last Man Standing.
Okay, but Joey has a show. I can't remember the name of it right now.
I know he was doing Top Gear or something like that for a while. I do know that.
No, it's not that. It's something else. It's a sitcom type deal where he's like the father or the dad or, I don't know, whatever. So, but yeah, so that was, interesting to me, to be able to see. I've seen some of the other cast. Obviously, Jennifer Aniston, she's been in a lot of stuff. So you kind of keep pretty good track of her. But most of the cast, you don't really see much, in other stuff. So
except for Paul Rudd.
But
ow.
Paul Rudd was not on the show.
Well, he was, but he wasn't a main. He wasn't a main character. He was.
He had a guest appearance, right? He was like a boyfriend of somebody.
He was a boyfriend for a while though. I can't remember.
He was Phoebe's. Was he Phoebe's boyfriend?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, I think he was Phoebe's boyfriend.
I never watched the show on a consistent basis. I just know some of the ins and outs, or whatever, better known. I have some friends who really dug that show.
Right.
Speaking of 90s, do you have any do you have any like Levi jeans, like, or baggy shirts or something laying around that I could take back to Austria with me and sell for a few €100? Because that's what everyone here.
Baggy t-shirts.
All the well, it's just the style here is like basically all the stuff, maybe even a bit earlier than probably early 90s, 80s. You know, like jeans, khakis, baggy shirts. I mean, I feel like my brother and sister probably left a gold mine behind, and we probably just emptied out the closet at some point. It's kind of like, it feels like a baseball card collection that your grandma throws away when you're gone, or your mom or whatever.
Yeah.
It feels like that. I feel like we probably had a gold mine back at my parents' house before they. At some point, you know, we're like, oh, look at these jeans.
So people want old Levi's.
Yes, like, you know, I think the 14 to 30-year-olds or something like that. That's kind of the rage, especially among women, is like baggy clothes from the like 80s, 90s. There's this little store you can go to in downtown Innsbruck, and it says like, I don't know, it just looks like kind of like a secondhand store, right?
Right.
And so I went in there once. I was like, hey, it's kind of cool. I love secondhand stores. And I went in, and it's like everything's like €150. It's like wait a second, these
pair of socks from the 80s.
And I was like, oh man, somewhere maybe my dad has some clothes he used to wear, you know, to work and stuff that were, I'm pretty sure, the exact same jeans I saw for like €300 at that shop. So maybe I could see if he's got some of those folded up.
So I don't know how you do your wardrobe, Seth, but I have a tendency to donate a lot of my clothes on a fairly regular basis.
To your sons? Or
no. to you know, some secondhand type place.
And they're like, sir, we can't take these. There's holes in every possible.
Yeah, no, the stuff with holes I don't donate. But I'm not somebody that keeps things for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not wearing it, or obviously if it's wore out, it just gets thrown away. But if I'm not wearing it for one reason or another, then I just donate it because I figure somebody else could use it. And so anything that I outgrow, you know, one way or the other,
outgrow,
or whatever, you know, if it shrinks up or just, you know, thought I would wear it, don't really wear it, you know, all that stuff that just kind of goes. I heard somebody say, you know, if you haven't worn it in the last 12 months, you probably should donate it.
I see, you know, I kind of live by that, except for I don't wear suits or like tuxes or anything like that, hardly ever, except for weddings. And even then, it depends on the wedding. You know, is it a summer wedding or whatever? And so I have like one suit, and I have only a couple nice shirts. So I hardly ever wear them, but I still feel every time. I just went through my closet again to do that same thing, sort things out and get rid of it. And I was like, I haven't worn this in forever, but there's going to be, you know, there's going to be weddings popping up And then I'm going to be like, I got to go to a secondhand store and find a button-up shirt that fits with this tie or something. I don't know. Those are the things where that's where I have the hardest time.
Yep. I have a bunch of suits from the good old days when I used to have to wear suits and ties and all that stuff. And I've been wanting to donate them because they're not really even trendy anymore. Like they're pleated pants. Nobody wears pleated pants anymore. Everybody wears flat front.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they'll come back 20, 30 years. Just give it a little time. I'll send them to Europe and get hundreds of euros for them. Yeah. But anyway, so I've got some sports coats that I would keep. And obviously I bought a suit for our wedding, and I would not get rid of my suit that I got married in either. But so it's just kind of,
you gotta have a suit
taking up space in my closet.
Hey guys, it's Seth. Some of you might be wondering, I wish there was a way to follow these guys and what they're up to. Well, I don't know if you heard about a little thing called the internet. That's right. If you check us out at twitter.com/WeWillJourney1, you'll be able to keep updated on what we're up to and maybe some future interviews or projects we're working on. Catch you later. So what I've been planning on doing, I think my mom did that a while back. She's done it, I think, a few times, like made a quilt with like old t-shirts and stuff. And that's kind of been my plan with all these t-shirts that I have that are sentimental, or I got them from like a camp or from a basketball tournament or something that's like, oh, it's kind of a cool memory, but I'm never going to wear this shirt, or it's too small. And so I have a box of t-shirts that are either old or don't fit well, but I don't want to throw away. And the thought is that either I or my wife or both of us are going to make a quilt with all these t-shirts, but it might just be a pipe dream.
Because neither you or your wife quilt?
My wife does more stuff like that than I do. I mean, I don't know if she's done a quilt. She does a lot of sewing. I've started sewing more, but mostly just hand stitching stuff. I've done a little bit with the sewing machine. But if I was going to take on a project like that, I would need a little more experience probably. But I did stitch some of my shoes, like, the one pair of Waldviertler. They're like the ones that you have, but just really, really, really old. I did stitch a part of those up.
Nice.
This past.
I had to take mine to get repaired the other day. I think I sent you pictures after I got them back, and so that was
so these
exciting.
Leather shoes, so they can be prepared. They can be repaired. In the sole.
Yeah. How do you say their name?
Waldviertler.
Waldviertler. Waldviertler. Well, you still have a V sound in there, even though it's a W. So
Yeah, in German it'd be Waldviertler, because it's from Waldviertel. It's a region in Austria.
Yeah,
they make them, and apparently, so next time you come, we should go there because they have like a central store or whatever their manufacturing place, and then they have like a store attached to it where I think they have special deals, or a couple times a year they do like discounts on everything.
Yeah,
it's like a flea market, but with new shoes.
We're gonna have to hit that thing because you and I both love shoes, and
shoes.
Yeah, you can never have too many shoes. That's not true. What I just said is not true.
Which part
have too many shoes.
You can't have too many.
you can have too many shoes. That's the truth. So I think our conversation today has led into an interesting little topic.
Yeah,
and one that I think is really fitting for our podcast. because
Yes.
because materialism is a little bit of an issue in our culture. We all kind of struggle, probably in some way, shape, or form, with materialism because there's just so much stuff available to us at all times, and people give us stuff. I found when you have children, the grandparents just load up on stuff. They're a lot better now, but man, when our kids were little, I mean, the stuff just kind of seemed to pour in the front door. We'd go visit somebody, and you could barely fit it all into your vehicle to get back home. And now you have all this stuff that you have to figure out what to do with. And so there is like this, it's a real issue for people. And Amazon makes it so convenient to order so many different things. I've actually been to people's homes before where one room of their house was just basically filled with Amazon boxes that they hadn't even opened yet because they hadn't had time to get to all of the stuff that they've ordered. So just all of our stuff and clutter and materialism, it's a real issue, I think, for Christians that we should address. I think I've talked about it before, but when we took kids down to Florida for a youth conference, they had a number of speakers there that talked about living more simply and decluttering and buying habits. Those things there. They had a few different speakers that talked about those specific issues. And for me, it kind of comes back to, which I can take most issues back to the Lord's Prayer. But in the Lord's Prayer, Jesus says, he tells us specifically, now that I'm talking about it, but we pray for our daily bread, right?
Yes. Our
daily bread. Okay. In my mind, I'm rephrasing it, and so now I'm like, oh shoot, what does the verse actually say? But it's our daily bread, which I rephrase as, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I've got it.
Oh, okay.
But
touché.
But our daily bread, I kind of rephrase that as, give me what I need today and not what I want. The daily bread was just kind of that basic essential need.
Essentials, yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't Lord, give me a feast. It was, Lord, give me my daily bread. Just what I need. Don't give me too much. And I think a lot of us live a life that is over the top. It's just too much. We have too much. But at the same time, even after realizing that we maybe have too much, it is really a challenge to go through that process of getting rid of stuff that we don't need. Have you guys experienced that? I know you live in a small place with a lot of children. So
my own children. Yes, we live in an apartment with four kids.
With your own children. So you probably have to be a little more conscious of just clutter and stuff like that. Otherwise, it would be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
But have you guys? I feel like you guys do a really good job of not getting too much stuff. But is it a struggle for you?
Yes and no. It is. It's. So part of the struggle is kind of the thing that you're pointing out with having, you have grandparents and friends. In our case, more. Also, just we are just connected to other friends and family, and so we get stuff from them, which is amazing, especially because we get so many clothes from people, and then we also gotten clothes from siblings and relatives in the States. So we're always getting clothes for our kids, and that's the awesome part, and that's and then we give those clothes on, and it's like a cyclical thing. Everyone's, you're kind of paying it forward, and your kid gets bigger, and then you pass those clothes on. We have shoes from you guys that Liam's wearing right now.
Yep.
So like that kind of part of it, like we get, sometimes it seems like a lot, but Alyssa enjoys kind of going through that stuff and and going with the kids and deciding what to keep and what to get rid of and stuff. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
The other part of it though is we get a lot of toys, which is really cool also, and really awesome and really practical. But on the other hand, it's like, when is enough? When is too much? That's what we've kind of had conversations about this last year, because like, we get our kids something for Christmas, more so for birthdays, but a little something for Christmas. And then they get stuff from their grandparents and from some friends and relatives or whatever. And then you get all this stuff just randomly throughout the year through these friends we know. And so we've gotten like a box of Playmobiles or a bunch of Duplos, or we get a gift certificate to go get whatever. And so that's kind of thing is like, I don't know at what point you see your kids kind of getting tired of almost having too much. And it's weird, because like, you're not spending a lot of money, it's not like you're always giving them stuff, but you just accumulate things because of all this, all those things that I mentioned.
Right.
And so that's where I kind of struggle, and we kind of struggle, and also seeing our kids where it's like the classic thing when someone has a birthday and they invite like, 4 or 5 friends over, and they get a present from each friend. And by the end of it, they're kind of like, oh, another present. Yay. It's like, they're, you always see like, oh, they have so much stuff and they love each thing. But then it's like, what do you do with all these things? And so that's kind of what we struggle with, is because of all the kids that we get, we just accumulate so much, and what's too much and what's not enough. And how can we teach our kids at a young age, like, having stuff isn't, I don't know. You can create this environment of like, oh, we want this next thing, and they're just so used to take for granted just having all these toys and all these things to do and play with.
Yeah. We have. So when we moved to Southwest Nebraska, I partnered with a guy in an auction business, and we did estate auctions primarily, but we accumulated so much junk because stuff would go cheap, and so you would just buy it, or they wanted to get rid of it, so they would pawn it off on you. And so our house just became filled with clutter and junk from all these auctions. And I'm finally to a point now where we've got rid of most of that stuff. But we have filled dumpsters full of junk that we just ended up throwing away. We finally got to a point where it's like, just get rid of it. Nobody wants it. Just throw it away and let's move on. Let's move on from this stuff. We have a school bus that we converted into a camper.
Yes.
And last night I was going through it and cleaning it. And even just in doing that, I realized we've bought too much junk to throw in here. We don't need all this stuff. And it's nobody's fault, really. You're at a secondhand shop or something looking for, like dishes or whatever. And these are cute, so you buy them, but we don't really need them. And in a space like that, you need to really focus on what you actually need and not what's cute, or would be fun. You just it's just easy to overdo a lot of times. And so we've definitely done a lot of that. And we're still not where we need to be. But I want to get to, obviously we all struggle with this and it's hard, but I also want to be, and I know you have to run after a little bit, but I wanted to be able to talk about like the benefit of simplifying our lives and the benefit of not having clutter and some of those things too, because I just didn't want to focus on the fact that we struggle with it. And that, it's how it happens. Obviously it does happen, but there are some real benefits to more simplicity, less clutter, and being more organized. There's some benefits to these things, and also not having like an abundance of anything.
Mm-hmm.
There are some real benefits and a real value to that kind of lifestyle. So let's talk about that for a little bit, Seth. Yes. How do you experience this idea? How does it benefit you?
So one of the things that's helped me, and I assume it would probably similarly help a lot of people if they went through this, but like between basically the age of 18 where I moved out of my parents' house and then the age of 26 or something, I don't know, 24, 25, something like that. We moved into the apartment we're in now. We lived in like, I think, me or Alyssa and I lived in, I think 10 or 12 different like houses or apartments during that time.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just, I mean, I was never super necessarily materialistic maybe, but I did have a lot of stuff, that I just collected kind of as a kid. And as you move a lot, you just, or for me personally, you just kind of get used to like saying goodbye to stuff and getting rid of stuff and buying stuff and selling stuff and maybe looking for something that's easy to move and that's practical and that doesn't take up a ton of space, so through that process of having to move and live at different places and kind of often not having things that maybe you could really like hold on to and say like, oh, this is precious to me or whatever. It's kind of really helped us not to hoard too much, I guess. Now we've lived at our apartment now for a few years, so we're starting to get more things, accumulating things. But at the same time, something we've really focused on the last couple of years is using kind of space wisely. So instead of having like a huge, we had these huge like dressers or what do you call them in English? Like a closet, like closets where you keep all your clothes and stuff. We had just gotten them because we had to purchase
wardrobes.
We had purchased them one time when we moved into a certain apartment. That was part of the deal. It's like you get all the furniture. So we had all these big wardrobes, and it was finally like, you know what? Do we need these giant wardrobes? I mean, they're full, but I feel like we could just go through this stuff and cut this in half. And so we got rid of like all these big wardrobes we had and kind of cut down to different small ones and ones we liked better that some people gave us, some we bought used and stuff. And I think I have enjoyed that that aspect of living in a small apartment and that aspect of moving around a lot, even though it's kind of exhausting at times. It's kind of taught us and taught me to be not so not to hold on to things, to have everything in hold on to everything with like kind of a loose grip.
Hold on loosely.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's helped, but I still struggle with things where, like we talked about shoes. That's something we both kind of like is especially for me, I'm a sucker for a good deal. Like if I find a pair of shoes that I really like, I'll look it up online and maybe like wait for it to show up on like basically Craigslist of Austria, and then get that. I'm like, oh, these are the shoes that I like, and I'll just wait for them to pop up. And does it cost a lot? No. Do I need them? No. So there's those kind of things too.
Right.
That's kind of where we're at and how we've experienced that process. Email. That's right, I said email. Seems like everybody's got one these days, even us. So if you want to get in contact with us or chat about the weather, you can shoot us an email at wewilljourney.connect@gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you or reading from you.
Yep. Well, yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the fact that clutter has a tendency to kind of create anxiety, within our lives, in where when we live a little more simplistically, we talked about this with Claus, yeah, a little bit too, with some of his buying decisions. Kind of fits into this. If you can have 10 t-shirts or 2 t-shirts, you kind of think more about the 2 t-shirts that you buy and where they came from and some of those things. So I think that kind of plays into some of this. But I know for me, when I'm in a space that's more organized and has less clutter, then I can focus on some of the things that I need to focus on better, and like right now my house is really kind of a mess. So it's just kind of funny. It's funny that we're talking about this. I'm just looking around at all this clutter and all this stuff that needs to be organized and cleaned, and and it is just like looking at it and having this conversation that you and I are having. It makes me feel stressed out, just looking at all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's just pretty true in general, is that when we have a lot of clutter and a lot of things that we don't need, it just creates this anxiety, or it can for some people. And the other part of it is when we get into a pattern where we keep buying things. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, that's basically kind of an obsession. Like it's something that we're doing because there's something about buying that thing that is doing something kind of emotionally for us. And so, just like other addictions, we're not actually exercising much control over buying stuff, and that's also problematic, because all of these things, so whether it's clutter that produces anxiety, or if it's like kind of like obsessive, almost addictive type buying habits, either way, we're not able to focus on some important things, which are our relationships, right? It's going to cause some issues with our relationships, and primarily our relationship to God. And I think that's why the sinner's or not the sinner's prayer, the Lord's Prayer. Yeah. That's a whole nother subject, which we have talked about with Matt Walker. So
I was like, man, you
haven't.
I thought you wanted to incorporate like every conversation that we've had.
All prayers. I want to incorporate all prayers in all conversations. But the Lord's Prayer, I think that's why the Lord's Prayer talks about the daily bread and the way it does, and just kind of everything that is around the daily bread portion. But by only getting what we need, it really helps us focus on our relationship to God.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a component to our life that we don't think about much, but when we get in excess everything in our lives, we have an abundance of food, we have an abundance of like living accommodations. Like most people that I know, we live in houses that far exceed what we actually need. And our house is no exception. It far exceeds what we actually need. We could live with far less. And then all of the things within our houses, exceed what we actually need, and our vehicles and, just everything. There's nothing about my life that in some way, shape, or form does not exceed what I actually need. So when we have an excess of stuff, it actually does create kind of a roadblock to our relationship with God.
Yeah, those are all. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's definitely something that I notice in my own life. It just distracts. It's all the things we like to focus on sometimes in the Christian walk are the things that everybody agrees on are bad and are definitely something you should cut out of your life. But then there's these things that maybe things we've been talking about kind of today, but that you don't necessarily view as a problem. And for me, sometimes even like getting something that's beneficial or good for us, like an appliance we need in the kitchen or a table or something, like that can still like consume so much of my time and thoughts for like that buying process, and I noticed like, wow, I haven't, opened my Bible at all today, but I've spent like 45 minutes online now, just like searching around all these deals to buy the exact, blender or whatever, that we need. And like, I noticed that is definitely an issue with me where I can get so consumed with like little, important sometimes, but like silly things where I just need to be careful not to get sucked in. And I do that so quickly, basically, in all my buying decisions, that it's not only excess, it's excess. Yeah. It's not always that. It's just also the like,
a process of buying something
and being sucked into this like vortex of, getting the best deal and finding the perfect thing and, and whatever that can distract us so much from relationships, whether it's with God or with others, because that time can be used for so many other things, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that's one of the important takeaways from some of this is that we can spend a ton of time researching and looking for something to buy. And then, once we get it, we actually probably enjoy it less than probably some of the researching that went into buying it. Mm-hmm. And, then what do? We like, well, what else do I need? And then we start researching that next item that we need, because the chase is actually more fun than the kill. So sometimes we get addicted to the chase, and then that leads to these unopened Amazon boxes in our home. Like, I just want to keep chasing things. So. But yeah, you're right, man. Like, all of that takes away. That's time that we could have spent differently. But instead we spent it on an inanimate object of some kind. And
what helps me with those kind of things now is you can set up alerts. And I try to do that more so than searching, like, because for the most part, I don't know how it is for other people, but usually I kind of know what I want. It's just like you said, it's that whole hunt for the thing, then finding the perfect thing. And so, you can set up alert basically on any of these like websites or, stores or for flights or whatever. That's something else I can waste so much time on. It's like for flights, you just set these alerts and then you just leave it alone. And then when that thing comes available or like somebody's selling that down the road, pops up, and then I know. I've tried to do that. I've tried to do that more and more and just be patient and be like, and be kind of even trusting God in a way, more with those kind of things. It helps.
So how is, I know you need to run here in a minute, but how is Exodus 90 going for you?
Exodus 90. Is that it? That's not even a real chapter. Oh, this.
Isn't that the name of the program that you're doing? The
yeah, it's going
isn't it
good.
called Exodus 90?
I think so. Yeah, it's going well. It's
never mind, Seth. Never mind. Touche,
my brother. Oh, end this conversation by saying, if you would like to purchase plane tickets for us to fly to Denver, Colorado, please email WeWillJourney at
.connect.
Oh crap. .connect at Gmail.
At Gmail. Yeah. So back to Exodus 90. How's it going for you?
Exodus 90 is going pretty well. It's a men's group challenge for 90 days to kind of refocus your life on what's important, and it's been good. I've enjoyed especially connecting with a friend who I'm doing it with. That's been kind of the most beneficial part, or I don't know if I'd say most, but that's been really the highlight. Is kind of having that connection and being able to talk openly about life and about our pursuit of Christ and being godly fathers and husbands.
Cool.
And, just trying to cut out distractions has been beneficial. I was thinking about that during our conversation today, because it's the same thing, whether you're talking about consuming products or consuming like media or whatever, it all falls into the same category of pulling us away from the main thing. And that's kind of the point of this Exodus 90 thing, is to cut out those distractions. And part of it is also, eliminating purchasing things that aren't important and essential.
Aren't needed. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's
all
why,
right, man. Well,
I stopped just to end. That's why I stopped buying socks and underwear, because I was like, really, if you think of it, essential,
totally useless.
I don't know. It's
totally useless. Yeah.
Very, very debatable whether those are needed. So
it's a luxury. It's a luxury item. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I hope you enjoy decluttering your house. From what you said, that's what you're focused on.
Now that we've had this conversation, I wish I could spend the day just doing that, but I have to do other things, and I guess I'll have to be content with the fact that I decluttered the bus yesterday. So,
amen, brother. That's one step at a time.
One step at a time. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, man.
All right. Love you, man.
I am a pilgrim and a stranger, and traveling through this wearisome land. I got a home in that yonder city, oh Lord, and it's not made by hand. I've got a mother, a sister, and a brother who have gone to that sweet home. Well, I'm determined to go and see them, a good Lord, over on that distant shore. As as I go down to that river of Jordan, just to bathe my weary soul. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, good Lord, I believe it would make me whole. And when I'm dead, laying in my coffin, all my friends all gather round. They can say I'm just sleeping, good Lord, the sweet peace I have found.